everyone. Ankit Bose here, head of AI at nasscom. We are here for a very good, interesting discussion on GenAI. The topic of today is leveraging GenAI to drive innovation in enterprises. What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? In this discussion, we have a very distinguished guest. We have Ananth, who is an executive vice president and MD India business from Capgemini. I welcome him, and with that, I would want to start a discussion, right? So Ananth, hope you're doing well.
First of all, thank you for having me here today, Ankit, for this wonderful topic. Look forward to the discussion. I'm doing very well today. I hope you're all doing well as well.
Great, thank you, Ananta. And so I think we all have been seeing the GenAI wave since last at least 1.5 years, right? And definitely, we being from industry, we have been seeing GenAI since more than a decade, right? So what is different, right? And then based on your view, your purview, right? How GenAI is emerging as an interesting wave, which is bringing a big opportunity of transformation for many industry sectors. What is your view on that? How do you see from your lenses?
Sure. So thank you, Ankit, for that. So let me start by quoting one of the Capgemini Research Institute reports, CRA report titled Harnessing the Value of Generative AI, where about 800 organizations were surveyed. Okay, it came as not so much of a surprise that 96% of those companies, GenAI is a boardroom agenda, number one. Number two, 40% of those companies have already a budget, have got some GenAI initiative or the other ongoing right now as we speak. Okay, and another 50% will have a budget this year. This is what came out of that interesting report. So in general, the generative AI is opening many client conversations for us, creating a lot of appetite for large-scale digital transformation, which we have not seen before, right? And whether they ultimately result in GenAI or not, but the point I want to convey is that there is large-scale digital transformation initiatives that are being now initiated by various clients. So the opportunities are tremendous for service providers like us. Okay, so that's a good news. Now, from an enterprise standpoint, we see three broad trends emerging in terms of adoption of generative AI. One is in the real short term. Customer experience is an area where we see tremendous amount of traction. Okay, it could be to do with more personalized products and services. It could be to do with customized content creation for sales and marketing, etc. Right. So that's a short-term interest that we are seeing in a lot of companies across sectors. In the medium term, companies like us, the service providers, we are seeing a lot of operational efficiency improvement through software development with coding assistance, right? Testing automation, knowledge management, synthetic data, and so on and so forth. And in the, as we go along the road in the long term, we see a lot of use cases in the product research and development areas. For example, in the designing and developing of lighter parts for automotive and aerospace, for example, right? So this is the way I see a lot of exciting opportunities emerging. To give you some precise examples, for the government of Catalonia, we are developing a very interesting generative AI-based chat answering system. This is basically for their citizens to come and ask any queries, put any complaints and suggestions, etc., to the government. And this is an automated system that actually responds. So this is a very interesting one because it came through a collaboration between the government of Catalonia, Capgemini, Google. Okay, so the three partners came together to develop something like this. Now, the real advantage I see is a government actually kind of trying to pioneer such generative AI initiatives that in turn will actually kind of create a lot much more positive response in the citizens. And this will all be resulting in further enhancement and adoption of generative AI. And secondly, more reasonable regulation. If the government and citizens are actually kind of happy, I think the regulations will also be taken care of. And in the operational efficiency, I'll give you an example. We are supporting various, especially the US banks who have archaic systems in the past, right? So this entire code conversion from old languages to modern languages, I think generative AI is really kind of coming very, very handy. In fact, one of the SaaS product CEO mentioned, and this is part of our CRA report that I mentioned. The coding assistant, okay, has reduced the software development lifecycle from about 8 to 10 weeks to about 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, and this is coming from a SaaS product development, chief executive officer. Lastly, on the R&D side, we collaborated with a large pharma company to use transformer models to generate novel medicinal molecules in the drug discovery area, right? So all in all, as you see, opportunities are tremendous for the enterprises too, as they try to harness the value of generative AI. And I see all of them are looking at intertwining generative AI as a transformative layer on top of their data strategy. So that's the way I see the world emerging, Ankit.
Great, Ananta. I think that's the same view we are also seeing, right? So what we are seeing, the 75 to 85% of the use cases are around, customer experience, sales and marketing, content generation, knowledge processing, code generation, and testing and migration, right? So these 5-6 use cases are covering at least maximum of the the POCs, MVPs, and production use cases, right? You rightly said, governments are really taking the initiative next level, right? We have a project called Bhashan in India. I think they are already working on a big way. How can GenAI change the whole life, right? So I think it's pretty exciting times, right? So completely agreeing and probably having the same view as you are viewing, right? So but let me ask you a different point of view, right? So when we are seeing this use cases emerging, opportunities sort of getting developed, but we also see a set of challenges, right? From your standpoint, right? What are the main challenges you see while implementing GenAI, right? Which could be ethical concerns, data privacy, integration issues. What are the strategies you've found which are effective in handling these challenges, right?
Yeah, again, let me start with a kind of a quote of CRA report, which was titled "Why Consumers Love Generative AI." 73% of the global consumers in that report told they trust content generated by generative AI. Okay, which is it was actually surprising for me, because I'm for one who is always a little bit theory why guy, perhaps you don't trust that easily. But see, on jokes apart, I think we all know the challenges, right? Top three of them are: first is reliability, okay, of anything that is kind of coming out of generative AI. Also known as hallucination. We all need to understand that this is only a language model, not a knowledge model, right? It is a purely a statistical, based output that you're getting. So reliability is a huge challenge, number one. Number two, I think the data use, both input as well as output. Okay, unethical data sourcing, copyright. You see so much of litigation across the board, in the world. And then there is breach of data privacy, confidentiality. Once you upload your code into any kind of repository, and if the coding assistant start using your code, without you knowing, it could be used by somebody else, right? So there is a lot of such data privacy and other such challenges that are kind of coming to the fore. And of course, the third topic is fraud and disinformation, where there is tremendous amount of impersonation that is happening in social media and spreading of disinformation and so on and so forth. So if you look at these three broad challenges to begin with, I don't think there is any silver bullet answer today, to be very honest. But I think I can speak from a Capgemini standpoint. What we have done is creation of a mandatory group guidelines, okay, that enable our teams to get safely involved in all these generative AI projects for internal usage or for clients. And we do two things. One is assessing the functional risks in terms of trust and correctness of data. And number two, also look at legal and ethical risks, such as data privacy and data leakage and so on and so forth, right? So by doing these two things in a much more structured fashion, we are trying to mitigate the three risks that we talked about. The second aspect of it is environmental impact. I mean, for the training, the amount of energy resources that are being used is kind of phenomenal. We all know that. So one thing that we do as a kind of a global citizen who actually kind of promotes sustainability is that we try to find opportunities to help enterprises move towards small language models that run on the edge devices. Okay, so that way, straight away try to find a solution. Don't try to find something big, a big solution for a small problem, right? So that is the second aspect of it. Last and very important one is bias. I think this is a big challenge that we are seeing across the board, right? During the training, what happens, there is a kind of a bias that is kind of infused into the algorithm. And for that, again, from our company standpoint, we are making sure our teams that are working in generative AI programs are diverse enough in terms of their professional backgrounds. It could be, purely in terms of seniority and gender, to have different perspectives coming in, okay, when you kind of try to develop an algorithm. So these are a few means through which we are trying to overcome the challenges that we are facing in this space today, Ankit.
Great, great. I think would want to add few things, right? So nasscom was the first body in the globe to come out with responsible AI guidance on GenAI. This was way back in June, right? June 2023. That time we were still dabbling with what's this, new enable called GenAI, right?
Yeah.
Which was impacting at scale, right? And that point in time, we identified, I think, the ethically, morally, and also in ways of security. I think there are three personas we found out. We found out there has to be guidance for the researchers. There has to be guidance for developers. There has to be guidance for users, right? So in a way, we see that, these are three streams people should think when they are developing, they are researching, or they're using GenAI, right? So I think, and that's what we are seeing. Most of the industries or enterprises, when they're building assets on GenAI, they're definitely thinking on these elements, right? And again, the masterpiece is the government, right? The government, when they are thinking how GenAI can transform, but they're also thinking on the way sidelines that how it can impact, right? Like content, as you rightly said, content is the biggest piece what is getting developed using GenAI. At the same time, you have deepfake, right? So you have guidance on deepfakes, which is required, right? So there's definitely a transformative power, and also there's a need for a balancing act, which probably enterprises and government have to play together, right? So so I think that's what we view, right? Again, there's no silver bullet, as you rightly said. We have to go step by step, rigorously build guardrails, build governance processes, which can, handle and mitigate it, right? So I think that's one. The question what I would want to ask Ananta you here is, how do you measure impact, value of any GenAI initiative, right? So how do you measure the real ROI coming out of that, right? What are metrics you use or you would recommend any customer or enterprise to use, right? While they're, building GenAI product or application or use case, right? So
yeah. No, it's a very pertinent question. Finally, it's all about value, and I'll try to answer it slightly differently. From three perspectives, Ankit, right? Potential of GenAI is enormous. If I look at it from the IT services industry perspective, okay, let us start from there. We, as Capgemini, we already have 300 projects delivered or underway, and there are 800 more opportunities in the pipeline, right? And all these things, put together, what do I see as value to us, right? It's a potential for a non-linear growth that we have been always hoping for from an nasscom standpoint, right? So it, of course, cuts both ways. One is our clients are looking for, look, I think you are using coding assistant and you're getting a lot of productivity gains. How do I apportion that value? How do you pass on that benefits to me? From my perspective, I see, look, generative AI is kind of delivering tremendous amount of value. How do I quantify that and try to apportion part of that value, right? So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. There has to be some give and take. But I strongly believe here is an opportunity for the industry as a whole to look at a non-linear model, pricing model, and a whole lot of things. That is number one from an industry standpoint. From the enterprises standpoint, there is a great opportunity. Almost, again, 3/4 of the clients that we surveyed in our CRA report, they say that there is a huge opportunity for them to widen the scope of the knowledge workers by taking away the non-value added work that the GenAI kind of is able to take away from them, right? And all of them, if you put it in three buckets, again, from a customer experience, from a operational efficiency, and from a overall, profitability standpoint, right? Almost 75% of the executives, they're talking about, they expect 9% improvement in customer experience. It could be metrics like net promoter score, your customer lifetime value, etc. And they also expect about 8% increase in sales and 7% decrease in costs. Okay, these are expectations still from our clients in terms of what GenAI can actually bring to table. To me, if I look at these numbers, they are not extremely mind-boggling. I think they are fairly reasonable expectations, which I believe, GenAI is a technology and we as service providers together can deliver. And third interesting aspect of it is the consumer perspective, right? GenAI is going to have a huge impact on the consumers. And I was reading this one interesting article about something called a PIC GPT. Okay, PIC GPT is basically a robotics transformer which combines LLM with the computer vision technology, right? So think of it as a kind of a general purpose robot which could be trained by the humans to do what you to do what you want it to do, right? For example, since it's a PIC GPT, it's basically for sorting of your vegetables or fruits in a farm. You can actually train the robot through a natural language interface. So I don't need to program the robot. I don't need to know programming languages anymore, no more coding, etc. Right? So imagine this opportunity. There is tremendous amount of ROI, right? When you talk about from a consumer standpoint, it kind of completely changes the game, and sky is the limit in terms of your imagination. So in a nutshell, I think for the service providers, for the enterprises, for the consumers, I think there is tremendous amount of impact and ROI for all the parties here. And I think this is going to kind of completely change the game, Ankit.
Great. Thank you. I think wonderfully explained, right? The three modalities, right? Thank you.
So, Ankit, before we close, I think I would want to ask you a question, right? I think you have a great position in, you have a vantage point being part of nasscom, right? One of the very, very common questions that is getting asked is, okay, this is all great. I think great set of use cases, tremendous opportunities for ROI, etc. But for that, you need talent, right? So how do you really kind of see the talent challenges that are kind of emerging in this space? How do you kind of see the skill development happening in this space? And of course, broadly the future trends in generative AI from your vantage point, Ankit.
Great. Would happy to answer, and I think great question, right? So let me give some numbers, right? So I'll give you some numbers which we basically researched some time back, early 23s, right? So at early 23, we found out that the demand and supply of AI skill set in market is a big short, right? I'll give you India numbers. So in India, there was a need of 600K data AI professionals, and we had around 400K, right? Versus US. US has or had a need of around 900K versus they had 600K, supply, right? So there's a big shortage at both places. Okay. Now, US is growing at probably 0.1%. India was growing at 10%, which probably would have increased to 15 now, right? So there's a big skill shortage, right? Now, this big skill shortage has, grown magnificently when we see in GenAI context, right? Because GenAI is a new tool which is democratized with everyone, right? Now, again, there will be set of users who will use GenAI as prompt engineers, as probably people who are domain specialists, but using GenAI, right? So we call them citizen data scientists, right? So those are the sort of new personas or new accounts which are emerging. But again, at the same time, right? The real ML deep learning engineers are also of shortage, right? So I think first standpoint I would want to showcase or probably highlight is there's a big gap in the skill right now, right? And now the next is what are we doing, right? What is nasscom, what is government, what is industry doing, right? So within last 1 year, I think nasscom has worked with government of India, and we have created a pyramid, right? Again, the pyramid is basically of 3 stages. The first stage is as per whatever we have found out, and we have worked with government on that. We need at least 1 million data and AI specialists, right? These are the people who basically will build AI models, they will implement AI models, and I will extend it to data engineering integration experts who can work on, the AI pipeline workflows, all of that. So that is the first 1 million. Second is definitely we need a big set of domain specialists who will use AI too, right? This is the quality analyst. This is a, marketer using GenAI, right? So you need to enable them with GenAI and AI tools. And third is, I think, so that number we have ascertained that we need at least 40 million, right? A big, huge aspirational, but again, that's what we have to get to. And the third is basically we are saying at least we should impart knowledge of AI and the safety measures of AI to every citizen in India, at least a billion plus, right? So that's the big mission what NASScom and Government of India is on track, right? So again, in that we have been working with Government of India to develop curriculums, revitalize our diploma and ITI, right? Diploma and ITI were huge source of manpower. They were of right now less relevance with the new tech and IT. But again, with this, we are really revitalizing them. We are basically helping them with data annotation, basic GenAI skills, which can be used, right? Again, I think that's what we are doing with government. But the other side is I've seen enterprises, right? Again, enterprises are investing huge. They are. I have seen at least 5 to 6 different Indian services companies and global services companies allocating billion plus dollars for GenAI upskilling and practice development, right? And maximum portion is going in upskilling of people, building use cases, MVPs, all of that. Again, I think enterprises themselves are driving it a lot, right? Again, the last piece, these are big enterprises. The last piece is SME, right? I think we feel SME is the right place. We should also catalyze. If the SMEs, the tech SMEs who are basically developing for the globe, if we can revitalize them with AI and GenAI skills, I think that can take India and the GDP and everything to the next level. I think that's what is happening, and that's what is my view.
Oh, wonderful, mind-boggling numbers though, but yeah, I'm sure we can cross this line as well as we go along.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Great, Anantha. I think it was a real pleasure talking to you and discussing how is your point of view and definitely sharing some of mine. So thank you for your time and really appreciate you coming here and sharing your inputs. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here, Ankit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.